Thank you, veterans, for being here today so we can proudly serve you in the way in which you deserve. I'd like to introduce you to a really special veteran who is sitting up here today, Mr. Anthony Scamardella. Can you please stand up? This is my dad, who proudly served in Vietnam.
Thank you so much, my daughter, and for the staff for having us here.
When I got into Vietnam, and all these guys will tell you the same thing, first thing you realize, it's 120 degrees in the shade. You go home, your mom or your dad cooks a nice meal for you, and you tell them you don't like it. Well, this is what we had to eat. It came in a can. And this is beans with marinara sauce and meatballs. Okay? These are crackers in a can. There's crackers. And this is a nut roll, like a piece of cake. Now, if you didn't have one of these, which they call the P38, you weren't going to eat anything in that can because there's no way else to open it. So a lot of us carry these on our dog tags that we have here. They could care less if you ate or you didn't eat. It was up to you. So if you didn't like that, you were going to go hungry. There was no other way you were going to get. Mommy isn't going to come over and cook you eggs or bacon or sausage. This is it. I want to say how great it was to be here, to let the kids know what we went through over in Vietnam. It does us a lot of good because most of us are suffering from PTSD. So this gets it off our chest. And it's a great pleasure that we can put something into these kids so they understand what we went through in Vietnam.
When we came back from Vietnam, we weren't welcomed at all. They showed us no respect, and that's why today, when we see each other, our brothers from Vietnam, we say, welcome home. Because when we came home after the war, or during the war, nobody welcomes us. They didn't show us no respect, and they called us baby killers, and but we had to do what we had to do to survive under those conditions. You know, the bond that you make with your friends and the guys in your company, you have guys coming in from all over that are in your platoon, in your squad, and you don't forget all the times that you had with these guys. And but like I say, and like Carl says, you know, it was a rough time. A lot of our GIs were getting killed. A lot of our GIs were getting injured. A lot of our GIs were losing limbs. And that's basically what we had to live with, and what we came home to.
I think it's so important for Vietnam veterans to talk in front of the students and anyone, because not too much is known about the Vietnam War and the protesting and what the Vietnam veterans went through in the early 60s and during the 60s and during the war, how we lived, the environment we had to live through and what we witnessed. And I basically think that the children in today's schools should be more informed about the war itself.
Country. And most of that country is underwater. So, but when a helicopter brings you in and lands you, or they can't land in the water, you, when you're brand new, you jumped out of the helicopter when it was about 3 or 4 foot off the ground. And then you found out that there was water and there was mud underneath that water. And that's the first time you realize that you're in a different situation right now. You learn to live with what you have and how you got there, and you serve this country as best you can. And I think we did.
Mike is one of the greatest guys that I have in our chapter. I can't say enough about him. He doesn't tell you, but I'm going to tell you. Mike is a Purple Heart. He got wounded over in Vietnam.
There was no such thing as GPS at the time. So if we walked 5 miles that day, I had to count every step of the way. It took me quite a few years to break that habit. Scariest year of my life, being in Vietnam. Like I said, I had a walk point. I had to worry about booby traps. I had to worry about snakes and spiders. And just worry about getting shot at by a sniper. Then when I came home, my father asked me, "Well, Ray, what are you going to do with yourself now that you're home?" So I don't know, Dad, I'll go out and get a job. He says, "Why don't you collect unemployment for the summer? Do the things you enjoy." He says, "Once you start work, you'll have to work for the rest of your life." And he says, "Take it easy." He says, "You went through a lot this past year." I took my discharge papers to the unemployment office in Elizabeth. I spoke to the gentleman at the desk. He looks at my papers, looks at me, looks at my papers, takes the papers and throws it in my face. He says, "You can't collect." I says, "Why not?" He says, "Your last name is spelled wrong on your discharge papers." I said, "What difference does that make? My social security number is the same." He says, "You're one of those Vietnam War heroes." He says, "I say you can't collect." I wrote his name down, I gathered all my papers, and I went to the VA representative in Elizabeth. I told him my story. He got so mad, he called up the unemployment office and asked to speak to this guy. And he told him, if my man can't collect unemployment after what he's been through this past year, he says, your induction papers will be in the mail tomorrow. Well, they were there waiting for me out front. "Oh, Mr. Miskowitz, sorry for the inconvenience of the mix-up." Oh, that was my story.
Wow.
I just want to say thank you for having us.